A Saskatchewan farmer is the target of the first lawsuit aimed at protecting genetically engineered plants in Canada.
That's the start of the whole thing. The claim was issued, and then there was the story. Monsanto takes legal road to protect patent rights. They accused him of it in the papers, in the Western Producer newspaper. That's the first public volley fired.
Monsanto Canada filed the lawsuit August 6th, alleging that Percy Schmeiser of Bruno, Saskatchewan, grew its genetically modified...
My name is Annabel Soutar. I wrote the play Seeds, the first version of it about 6 years ago. I am the artistic director of Port Parole documentary theater company in Montreal.
I'm Chris Abraham. I'm directing Seeds, and I'm also the artistic director of Crow's Theatre in Toronto.
I think what first drew me to the story of the Percy Schmeiser Monsanto conflict was just, I love that idea of a farmer having a fight, picking a fight with a big biotech company. I mean, there's just so much potential for drama in that premise. What is the conflict? Well, in some ways, it's just an old-fashioned turf war. This is my property. No, it's my property. But there's so many things that are contemporary about it. It's not just physical property. It's intellectual property. This is where we draw the line between my property and your property. That's not just a land boundary, but also a biological boundary. A boundary between a gene, between a seed.
And how did you discover it?
Well, I have a practice to spray Roundup around the power poles and ditches alongside my land to keep the weeds from growing beside my land. And after spraying that year, I noticed that there was canola plants that did not die.
There was a great deal that appealed to me about that work. I also was really drawn to the rigor of Annabel's journalism and its, I guess, successful translation into a dramatic form. I arrived at this idea of a kind of talk show, game show, quiz show, reality TV kind of format, partly just through instinct, following that through for a little while and then kind of analyzing it objectively once you've done a little bit of work on it. Or another thing we played with early on in our workshop was bringing more of the documentary material, which is rooted in a past event, into the present, and turning kind of interview encounters which happened into things that are happening.
Other explanation. So we set it aside in a truck all by itself, went and got the seed treated, turned around, and then planted it the next year.
The idea of a documentary play for me is to bring voices, experiences together that might not in real life have an opportunity to confront each other, and the kind of conflicts, drama, emotion that is sparked by that sort of confrontation. And the play then becomes a space where those voices get to exist together. And I think what's fun about what Chris has done is he's even taken that one step further. I mean, the play on the page, those voices that I brought together are still somewhat in isolation. Chris has kind of imagined them sharing a space and actually trying to fight for each of their ideologies in one space. And I think that by doing that, he's brought out the humor, the potential of those people being in the same place.
There are interesting things that happen there because you're talking about, crossing a certain kind of barrier in terms of the documentary principle, which is something that we've talked a lot about.
The way I've traditionally presented documentary material is in a very pure way. You know, the words come from the person, they're spoken by one actor, there's no composite characters. I try and reveal where they said the language and who they're saying the language to, and we've sort of turned that around, but I feel that in a way, the studio that we've put these people in it's similar to the theater. What it's doing too for us is it's showing us in a way the media environment that a lot of this information actually first appeared to me through.
The trio of modes that were mentioned earlier, game show, talk show, reality TV, these are all forms and genres and modes that people are all really actually intensely, intimately familiar with. in ways that they're probably not even aware of. So there's a kind of communication that you can have with an audience inside these coded genres that is really interesting. It's essentially a kind of comic structure which allows us to examine the polarities of right and left.
So, who owns life?
By the year 2050, there will be 9 billion people on Earth. 9 billion people who must be clothed, fueled, fed. And the world is consuming more than it's producing. So we must grow more food in the next 50 years than has been grown in the last 10,000. What if we could produce more yield on the same amount of land, squeeze more water from a single raindrop, conserve natural resources while caring for the environment, and tell at a glance what to expect from a trait? Wouldn't it be better?